This is an oral history interview with Marion Dighton in her home on May 16, 1983. The interviewer is Susan Gordner. Mrs. Dighton, where was your father born and what was his name?
My father was born in Jamestown, Michigan. And what was the other?
His name.
His name was Jesse DeBore.
And your mother, what was her name?
My mother's name was Marion DeBore.
What was her maiden name?
Berens, Berends.
Was she born in Michigan also?
Yes, she was born in Michigan.
What type of work did your father do?
My father was a millwright. And most people don't know what a millwright is unless they work in a big factory or something of that sort.
Can you explain it to us?
He is the one who's responsible to keep all of the machinery and everything in working order and to repair any things that break and take care of the machinery in a large.
What type of factory did he work in?
In a furniture factory.
Do you happen to know how long either of your parents attended school?
Yes, my mother attended, graduated from the 8th grade, and then her 8th grade teacher felt that she was a good student and wanted her to go on, and so along with the other children in the school, she was allowed to go one more year in school. And my father had a ordinary 8th grade education.
The ancestral origin of the last name DeBore, what is it?
It's Holland. The natives of Netherlands.
Do you happen to know when your ancestors came to the United States?
My mother's family came into the United States in
Did she come over, or did her mother come over? Do you know?
No, my mother was born in the United States, and my grandfather came from the Netherlands and lived in Jamestown, and my mother was born there, and I don't recall about her father whether he.
Didn't you tell me that one of your relatives was one of the first groups of people to come over?
Yes, that was my mother's ancestor. Van Heetsma was the name, and Van Ralde colonized some people. Groups of people from the Netherlands to the United States, and the first group that came were the ones that colonized it there, and then he went back and got another group, and my mother's grandfather. Yes, it would be her grandfather. Was in that group.
That's interesting.
They have their name on a stone in Holland, Michigan, if you ever want to be in that part of the country.
Did your mother ever work outside the home?
No, she never did.
How many were there in your family when you grew up?
3 brothers and 3 sisters.
Where did you fall? Were you in the middle? Or?
I was the 3rd one.
When you had clothes made, did your mother make your clothing?
Yes, She always made our clothing.
What type of outfits did you wear to school? Do you recall?
No, just like the children, like the regular group of children did, and they want to all have the right kind and that sort of thing, and but my mother could sew, and so each fall, just in September, we all had some new clothes to go to school in.
Did anyone live with your family besides your brothers and sisters?
No.
You didn't have a grandparent or anyone live with you?
Well, I remember both my grandparents, but they didn't live with us.
What type of chores did you have to do when you were a child?
Well, it was my job to slice the bread for every meal. and just as soon as I'd get enough bread sliced, because we didn't have, I shouldn't make comments on the side.
No, that's fine.
But I had a hard time eating my meal because they were always clamoring for bread. And I had to slice it all.
Would you go through a loaf of bread a meal?
Just about.
Did you help your mother with any of the baking?
No, I didn't as much as my sister did.
Where did you go to school?
I went to school in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Did you walk to school?
Yes.
About how far was the school?
I think it was about a mile, and it was over railroad tracks, and we'd get hung up and late for school because of our railroad train.
Mm-hmm. How big was the school, your grade school? Did you have a class for each grade?
Yes, I think we had at least a class for each grade.
Mm-hmm.
And my high school was large, very large. And I should remember that, but I can't remember just what it was. But we had, at least 200 or more in our graduating class.
So that was good size.
Good size, but it was right in the city,
What type of games did you and your brothers and sisters play as you were growing up?
We enjoyed roller skating, and one thing that we could do there in Grand Rapids was in the wintertime they allowed streets to be shut off, and then youngsters could come to the shut off area and do their sledding and tobogganing and that sort of thing.
In school, do you recall any special games you used to play? Did you have a recess period?
Yes, we had recess. We had spell downs.
Did you take your lunch to school?
No, we were neighborhood schools.
So you walked home for lunch. After you graduated from high school, how did you happen to go on to nursing school?
Well, a friend of mine, a neighboring friend, started. I wanted to go on and get some more education, and she and I got started talking about it, and decided that it didn't take any tuition or anything to get into nursing school, so we'd try it, and we did. We went in nursing school together.
So it was a free?
Yes. It was a work proposition. It isn't like the nursing school, the education of nurses that now. We worked in the morning, we worked in the evening, we worked at odd hours and so forth, and there were no supervisors or graduate nurses on the floor except the supervisor, who was a graduate nurse, and then the students did all the rest of the work.
How long was your nursing school?
3 years.
Where did you go to nursing school?
In Grand Rapids, Michigan, and the hospital was Blanchett Hospital.
Did you continue to live at home then?
In nursing school? No, we lived at the nurses' lodge. We could go home on off hours or our day off during the week, if you didn't live too far.
How were you affected by World War I? You were fairly young then.
Yes, but I remember it.
What kind of memories do you have?
With World War I, now let me see. I think I have this straight. There was a false armistice for World War I. The paper boys and came, and of course it came from the printing company, but they said that there was an armistice, and it wasn't true. It was a false armistice. And so then shortly after that, it was about a week or so after that, there was the true armistice. But I can remember that false armistice, and my dad was so happy. And I was on a truck, and a whole bunch of people on the truck, and they were driving around the city rejoicing because the war was over.
And it wasn't.
It wasn't the first one, but the second one it was.
Did you drive around the city again the second time?
No, I don't think we did.
Was anybody in your family in the service?
No.
After you graduated from nursing school, what did you do?
Let me see. What did I do? Well, I went into, they had special duty nurses in taking care of the people in the hospital who were very ill and so forth. And if we didn't do a good job of some kind or other that we found that's pleased us, well, we could always put on our uniform and so forth and take care of people in their homes. And then from that on, I went on into public health nursing in the street,
in the Grand Rapids area. What kind of experiences did you have in that?
Well, this is coming through the big depression now at this time, and we had everybody was desperately poor, didn't have any money. We were paid with scrip, we called it. It was tax anticipation warrants, and that's what we were paid with if we had a job, and that lasted for a short while, but it eventually got back to the regular monetary system and everything. And what else was it I was thinking of?
Were there a lot of people using public health nurses that couldn't afford to get any other?
Well, the public health nurses went around in city cars. They were issued a car, and they took care of the people. The doctors themselves made home calls and so forth. Glad to get a call from the city so that doctors' homes were as desperate as anybody else's were, and so that the health care they got was from the doctors who went out to see the sick people. Mm-hmm. And then just he would leave orders for the nurse, and the nurse would follow out and fill out the orders, or find out how the patient was progressing and all that sort of thing. Maybe a couple of home calls went with it, and then they were well again. But it was worked in that way, and that's the way we did it. We delivered babies in the home.
You did?
Mm-hmm. We had the arrangements were made, and we had a package that was sterilized, and we took that along, and we went out to the place where the call came from, and the doctor was supposed to come and stay with the patient until delivery was imminent, and then he called the nurse in, and then we were there with the sterile equipment and everything, and in the meantime, people had boiling water on the stove and so forth. But they worked very nicely, very easily.
How many babies did you deliver?
Oh, I have no idea how many babies were delivered that way. But everybody was desperately poor. They couldn't pay for a doctor, and the city had to take care of it, and that's the way it was done.
Did you have any twins that you helped deliver?
No, I don't recall any twins. Someone may have had it, but I don't recall any in my group.
To go back just a little, what were the medical conditions like when you were a child? Did your mother have a lot of home remedies?
No, I don't think so. We were usually quite healthy in our family, and but we were dealing with the communicable diseases in nursing in there, and some people had scarlet fever, some people had diphtheria, and that they were sealed into their homes. Not exactly sealed, but I mean they were not allowed to get out into the public. And there would be a placard of a particular color tacked onto their house because they had a communicable disease. And that time used to come right after the holidays, and it started getting cold, and then it was brought in. Then I don't know how it came in, but at any rate, some people would be getting sick, and the first thing you know, somebody's got scarlet fever, and they didn't have any methods of taking care of it like we do now. We don't even have it. It's but people nowadays don't know about it, and they fail to immunize their children when that's the way we are free from it, is because those children had all those immunizations in schools and to get to school, to go to school.
I believe you told me that you had scarlet fever when you were a child
Mm-hmm.
and brought it home with you.
Mm-hmm. And I had, you want that?
Yeah.
I had a little sister who died of the complications of diphtheria, and a little brother who died of the complications of scarlet fever.
Which is
That was all within, I would say, 5. Let me see. It was within a very short time.
To go on to the depression, what other recollections do you have of the depression in your nursing?
Mm. Well, do you really want to know about the depression?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it wasn't, I shouldn't say it that way. It was a strange situation. People were this was such a big depression that people all were hit by it, and it was a very bad situation, and we were all in the same boat. Mm-hmm. So we tolerated it better, I think. Mm-hmm. And I can I've often thought about it afterwards, but really I think it was a good thing for the people that went through it. It made them stronger individuals. It made them more more willing to work for themselves and to do whatever they could mm-hmm. to help in their situations. And
did you have any money in the banks? Did your bank close?
Yes, the bank closed, and I think I had $50 in the bank, but I got it.
You did get it
afterwards. Uh-huh.
Did your father keep his job during the Depression?
Yes, he did, because you see, and you can't. I mean, the work wasn't nearly as much as ordinary, but every once in a while something would come along that, with, for instance, shoveling a carload of coal, one of these that had been shunted on the tracks, and he'd unload it. Maybe he had a partner along with him unloading it, but this wasn't their regular job or anything like that, but it needed to be done, and so they did it. Mm-hmm. And people just pitched in, and when they found work to do, they believe me, they worked.
I imagine. Do you recall much about Prohibition?
No, other than having heard about Prohibition. That's right. That came in after that, didn't it?
Well, right before the Depression, yeah.
Right, uh-huh. Yes, the moonshine and all that sort of thing. I remember that. But I didn't encounter it very much.
Mm-hmm. How long did you continue as a public health nurse in Grand Rapids?
Mm-hmm. Oh, let me see. Can you shut it off?
After you were the public health nurse in Grand Rapids, you went and took some courses at the University of Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Then how did you happen to get to Monticello?
Well, my friends would come. I stayed at home, at home all the time, because I was in that proximity and everything. And I sort of, my friends would come. They had gone to another hospital or something like that. They were working and going from one place to another to work, and I felt like I wanted to do that. So I found a job in school nursing, and then I came to Monticello and did school nursing here.
Did you know anybody in the area when you came here?
Let me see.
Or did you just happen to get the job and come?
While I was at the University of Michigan, I put my name in on their to secure jobs for their students, and I found one. Monticello was in there, and so that sounded all right to me, and I investigated that and got the job.
Where did you live when you first came to Monticello?
Well, I lived, I had rooms in the home that,
You rented an apartment.
No, I didn't rent
Remember, you had rooms.
Have you got it turned off?
No, you had rooms in someone's home then?
Yes, and the home is where,
Oh, that's all right.
yes, you know him and I know him. Vince Walsh's son, Tom Walsh, where Tom Walsh lives now.
Oh.
I had rooms there, and we had breakfast there. Another teacher from Monticello.
Did the Walshes live there then?
No, they didn't live there then. But it was at a home that we lived in.
What was your job as a school nurse?
Oh, some of the children had bad dental, bad teeth, and needed dental help. And so I didn't, the doctors always gave them, checked over their teeth and made the record of it, and then I could look at the records and see which ones needed it badly, and try to, we had a little dental chair here, and the doctors would take an afternoon off. The doctors, each doctor had his afternoon off, so that I think there were about 4. And then I was there to help them, and they would put fillings and tried to keep some of the dental work up for some of those children.
Now, are you talking about medical doctors or dentists?
Dentists.
Dentists.
Uh-huh.
How many dentists were there in Monticello?
I know there was a Dr. Bushy. There was Dr. Landers was here when I came. And there is another doctor, but I can't remember his name, a dentist.
What schools did you serve?
I went to the all schools.
So you went to Lincoln and Washington,
and that's all, and the high school, and that's all we had.
What other responsibilities did you have?
Well, if someone was ill, and you soon knew about it, and then we would check up on some of them, and Of course, we had epidemics here of things like measles and some of that at that time, and I would check the attendance more or less, and did hearing tests on them, and did a physical exam more or less. Looked them over and asked and talked to them a little bit about their health habits and things of that sort. It was an educational sort of a thing.
Did you have an office in one of the schools?
Yes, I had an office in each school had an office that they call the nurse's room. And then, of course, somebody got hurt on the playing grounds, and somebody got something in their eye, and just the other things that as they were playing, and try to see if I found any real problems that would need attention, and try to do something about looking after their health and teach them somewhat. The population was less, much less than that. I can't remember, though, just how many.
How did you happen to meet your husband?
Well, my husband graduated from the University of Michigan, and he was a rabid fan of the University of Michigan. And I met him when the people in the house where I had the rooms, they invited him over to have dinner. And that's where I met him. And I could talk all about University of Michigan's football team, and football team mostly, and I knew names of them, and Benny Friedman and Benny Oosterbaan and all those big famous players. I could talk to him about it, and that's what happened.
What was your husband's name?
Andrew Dighton.
What did he do?
He was, you can't say he was a farmer, are you? He's a landowner. And he kept the ground, took care of all the business connected with farming and keeping it in a good.
Do you recall your first date?
I really can't tell you.
Did you have a very long courtship before you were married?
No.
Did you get married here in Monticello?
I practically forgot these things.
That's all right.
What was it? No, we were married in Springfield. The Presbyterian Church in Springfield.
Did you have a large wedding?
No, we just got married.
Did you have a honeymoon?
Yes, I suppose that was a honeymoon. We went to Chicago.
Well, that's nice. Yeah. Where did you move after you were married?
Oh, to the house. We lived in the house that the
One of the houses on State Street?
no, it's the one right across from the hospital.
Oh, mm-hmm. Down there on State Street.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How many children did you and your husband have?
Two girls.
Mm-hmm. Did you continue to work after you were married?
No.
No.
Oh no.
So you retired from nursing when you got married?
For 17 years, and then I went back again.
What did you do when you went back?
No, wait a minute, I'm getting ahead of myself. No, that's out.
Okay. Do you recall what you were doing when you heard about Pearl Harbor?
Pearl Harbor. I remember Pearl Harbor. And how outraged we were to think that that was done so underhandedly and everything. I remember that very well.
What kind of effect did World War II have on your lives?
Well, it was the same with everyone, you know. The shortages of this, that, and the other thing, and so forth. But it never hurt any one of us.
Did you have much trouble with rationing?
No, because we were also canning and that sort of thing. And the one thing that was in short order was sugar. And we had got the canning amount, you know, to can the things as well. And bananas we didn't get very many of. And sometimes you ran out of some thing that you needed quite badly and you couldn't find it anyplace.
Did you take part in the canning program they had at the school?
No, I don't think I did.
Where do your children live now?
Well, my oldest child lives here in Monticello and Weinstein. And my other child is living in San Antonio right now.
Do you remember what you thought when you saw the first experience with automobiles? Did your father have a car when you were growing up?
I can remember about automobiles, yes. We had this bunch of 6 children. And he had one that had curtains. You know, you snapped curtains on the windows. There weren't glass windows or anything. And he had brass horn, and it was always polished up just so nicely. And that was a light on one side here, a light on the other side here. And we'd go out. Of course, my dad would take us to visit in the country or something like that, and we'd be all packed in the car, and we sort of huddled up to keep warm because those isinglass windows didn't keep anything out, and they flapped a little bit. I can remember that very
Did
carefully.
you have foot warmers you put in the car in the winter?
We never did have. We had lots of blankets, more or less something like a horse blanket that we could crawl under and keep warm.
Since you've moved to Minnesota, what organizations and churches have you belonged to?
Oh, I belong to the Presbyterian Church and organizations. Let me see. Oh, what have I'd have to think that one over.
I know you're a member of the Women's Club.
A women's club, yes. And when the Second World War was finished and the people were coming back from then we had we organized a nurses group here when the hospital by that time, they had just fixed up the old residence there. And we had a nurses group then, and the nurses group became active in supporting the public health office that you have here. Set up so that you have some health work done in the county.
Did you go back to nursing later?
No.
You just were supportive of them?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I thank you very much for letting me interview you. I've enjoyed it. Mrs. Dighton was just telling me that when she moved here, there was quite a distinction between the North and South School. Do you want to tell us about it a little?
Oh, dear. I don't know just how to say it.
You had said that a lot of people wanted their kids to go to the South School over the North School. Why was that?
I couldn't figure out why it was. The schools were the same. They accomplished the same purpose and everything else, but some people just wanted their children to go to the South School, and they seemed to feel as though the North School was not quite as nice or as desirable as the South School.
You said there was this area called, what was it, Smoking Row?
Smoky Row.
Smoky Row?
Mm-hmm.
And that was in the North School side?
Yes. Uh-huh.
And that was part of the reason? It was...
I don't know. I just came into Monticello, and that is what impressed me, because I couldn't understand why a small town would have a situation like that, would create one.
And you said that the farm kids were bussed into
The farm kids were bussed into in buses. Sometimes, or I don't know, they may have been,
but they came into the South.
But they came...
Or the
North School.
North School.
Mm-hmm. At one time, I can remember, that at one time that they did come. And then they integrated, not integrated, I think the school busing came in. And that has changed the whole thing around.
With the kids were sent to either school.
Mm-hmm.
And that's helped.
Mm-hmm.
Where was the area called Smoky Row?
Down along the railroad tracks. I'd have to go out there to see it, to get it to it. But it was old.
Is it in the area of the Nazarene Church out there?
And back in through there, on back. You take the road in front of the Nazarene Church, and back in, and then that area there, that's what they call it. Was the North School.
Well, that's interesting. Thank you for sharing that with us.